So I decided to title my talk Overtime because I've considered myself an overtime ever since November of 2010 when I had my last rights tumor. Leading up to that time, I was a healthy third-year medical student, had never had any medical issues, and I was here at Penn training to become a clinical oncologist. I wanted to treat patients with cancer because I had lost my mom to cancer, and I was on that journey, on that path. And this is a photo of me from July of 2010. Totally healthy, no problems. And over about a 2-week period, I started experiencing fatigue and night sweats. My lymph nodes were enlarging. I was noticing these blood moles showing up on my body, and I didn't know what it was. I kept thinking maybe I'm just exhausted because I'm med student, and I tried to fight through it. But eventually I went into the hospital. When I went to the hospital, they did blood work. And I remember the doctor sitting down next to me and saying, "Dave, your liver, your kidneys, and your bone marrow are shutting down, and we don't know why." And so this is just across the street. I was hospitalized here. Of course, they sent me straight to the intensive care unit, and I went downhill immediately. I experienced a retinal hemorrhage and went blind in my left eye. Because of the liver failure and the kidney failure, I gained 70 pounds of anosarca. This is a photo of me with all that fluid gain. And I was completely unconscious for 7 weeks. Now, I had no diagnosis. I didn't know what I was battling. But eventually, over the course of those 7 weeks, I started to improve. And after the 7 weeks, I walked out of the hospital with no diagnosis. But each of my doctors just kept saying, "Let's hope this thing doesn't come back." Unfortunately, about 3 weeks later, all of those same symptoms came back. This time we did a lymph node biopsy, and the lymph node biopsy returned the diagnosis of idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease, an incredibly rare disorder where the immune system becomes activated and shuts down vital organs. It's a life-threatening illness. And because I was getting so sick when I got the diagnosis, my doctors didn't think I was going to survive, and encouraged my family to bring in a priest to administer my last rites to me. Fortunately, the chemo that I'd gotten kicked in, and I survived. I made it through that really, really scary time. Unfortunately, about 3 weeks later, I was back in the hospital with another one of these relapses. This time I was out in Little Rock, Arkansas, seeing Fritz Van Lee, who's here tonight. And Fritz decided to give me some really intense chemotherapy, 7-agent cocktail. And to give you an idea of how sick I was, I felt better with every single dose of chemotherapy than before. The chemotherapy was killing my immune system, which was trying to kill me. This is a picture, it's hard to recognize, and it's a picture of you and my dad, who was with me every single step of the way. Now, when you look at me here, you can see how big my belly was. And it reminds me of a story that I want to share with you guys. From New Year's Eve 2010, my dad and I were walking laps to keep ourselves busy and to try to pass the time on New Year's Eve. And every time we walked past the family waiting area, we noticed a gentleman had been drinking on New Year's Eve, and we noticed he was kind of getting closer and closer to falling out of his chair. And we just kept doing these laps and walking by. And eventually, we passed by, and this poor gentleman was on the floor. So my dad ran over to him, and he helped him back into his chair, and the guy said, "Thank you so much. Good luck to you and your wife." And my dad and I kind of looked around for a second, and we were like, "Why?" And then I looked at my belly, and I was like, this guy thinks I'm my dad's pregnant wife. So of course I told my dad, I said, "Dad, you have a really ugly wife." That was probably a low point emotionally for me in my life. But the good news is that the chemotherapy kicked in. It started to knock out my immune system, and we started to control the disease. And here's a photo of me after I got out of the hospital. You can see just how sick I was. And this is around the time that everyone was telling me how great I was. Oh my gosh, Dave, you look so great. Just how sick I was before that. So when I left the hospital, I took a picture of myself every week for the next 8 weeks. And so you can see here that I go from having this huge belly and look really sick to slowly going back to looking like a normal human. And of course, I took pictures from the side as well. And here are other pictures every week from the side, looking more human. Now, when I see these pictures, I feel like this should be like a shake weight ad or something like a muscle milk ad. Look at what this did for me. So I walked out of the hospital, and and was able to go back to medical school. But I want to tell you guys a bit about Castleman disease. So it's estimated there's 5,000 new cases a year in the United States of Castleman disease, which makes it as common, or you could say as rare, as ALS. And of course, everyone in this room had heard about ALS, but I'm sure many of you in most had never heard about Castleman disease. There's 3 subtypes that make up Castleman's: unicentric Castleman disease, where your activated immune system is localized, and then 2 forms of multicentric Castleman disease. It's a truly multi-system disorder. It affects every organ system. And the multicentric subtype, the subtype that I have, carries with it a higher mortality rate than lymphoma. Unfortunately, the subtype I have, idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease, we don't know what the cause is, we don't know the problem of the immune cell, we don't know why those immune cells are doing what they're doing. So when I left the hospital, I left with this profound sense of how short life is and how much you need to appreciate every second. And I think about this concept of hearing the clock. That truly, we all have a time bomb, and I can truly hear that clock and try to make the most between every single tick of the clock. And this is a picture of me back here at Penn with one of my favorite doctors here. I was back to med school. Castleman disease was in my rearview mirror. I got the chance to start doing strategic planning for the Penn Orphan Disease Center, which is when I met Arthur Rubenstein, and he became just an incredible mentor to me. But I really felt like Castleman was in my rearview mirror. One thing I did do was write a case report on myself, and actually my case report on myself got published in JAMA Dermatology, and I got a cover shot on the front of JAMA Dermatology. Of course, the editors had no idea that they were putting a picture of the author on the cover, but this is not the cover shot I was expecting for my workout. So I was able to go back to med school, work on the Orphan Disease Center, and I really thought Castleman was never going to come back. Finished a whole other year of med school, finished my 3rd year of med school, and unfortunately, all of a sudden I started noticing my lymph nodes enlarging, fatigue, night sweats, abdominal pain, all the same symptoms were coming back. But I was on all these maintenance therapies, how could it possibly be coming back? But sure enough, it did. And this picture is me with my first dose of my first infusion of 7-agent chemotherapy. But as you can tell here, I am ready for war. This disease, in my mind, there is just no way this disease could take me down. At this point, I had read all 2,000 published papers ever on the disease. I knew everything there was about Castleman disease that we knew. No way it could take me down. And then this picture is from about a month later. And what you can see here is, this is after I just fought Castleman disease again, and again, it almost killed me. And in this picture, I guess the most important thing to notice between the two, or to know between the two, is that I had a really important conversation with my doctor, Dr. Van Reed. It was while I was in the hospital, just as I was about to get my first infusion. And I asked Dr. Van Reed, what are we going to do next after we get this information? What's the next treatment to keep this away? And he told me, he said, Dave, I really don't know. You failed all the drugs that we use for Castleman disease, and we don't know what's causing this. And I started asking the questions, Dr. Van Reed, what's the immune cell that's driving this, or what's the pathway that's gone wrong? All of the questions that I could answer for all these other diseases that I learned about in med school, but unfortunately he couldn't answer any of them about Castleman disease because we just don't know them. And so if you look at my face, and I can tell you what was going on behind those eyes, that was me realizing that if I did not dedicate everything I had, every moment I had, to try to take on this disease and figure it out, that there was no way I could ever survive another one of these. So I left the hospital working with Dr. Van Reed, deciding that we would create something to try to take this disease on. So the first thing I did was look into what is currently known about Castleman disease. At the time, we found that there was very little collaboration going on worldwide. Everyone was using different terminology systems. There was no understanding of the immune cells causing problems, the cause of this illness. There was no diagnostic criteria, but there was promising results with one drug, anti-IL-6 therapy. But the disease model for how we thought Castleman's worked just didn't make any sense. And unfortunately, there was no advocacy effort, and there was no money being dedicated to Castleman disease research. So at this point, I decided there really were 2 paths forward. I would dedicate my life to conducting Castleman disease research, and I would dedicate it to building a global network, the CDCN, to take this disease on. But we decided we didn't want to take the usual approach that most advocacy groups take of raising money and then letting researchers come to us to spend it how they want to spend it. We said we wanted to take a totally different approach. We wanted to identify all the physicians and researchers worldwide doing research and build a community for collaboration. Then we would crowdsource amongst that community the priority research studies that needed to be done next. And finally, we would recruit the top experts and we raised money among patients and loved ones to make those studies happen. So rather than just hoping that the right researcher does the right study at the right time and hoping that they figure out your disease, we were going to be much more strategic and proactive. We were going to build the community and drive things forward. And of course, we would provide supportive resources along the way, centralized data, and importantly, and I think that maybe most significantly, is we would do this with patients, loved ones, medical students at Penn, MBA students would really drive this training forward. And we made a lot of progress. Maybe the thing I'm most proud to share is that the change in our entire model of how we think the disease works. When I was diagnosed, we thought of this as a tumor-driven disorder. Castleman tumors release cytokines, these molecules that shut down your organs. But as we did just basic review-level research, we found that actually it's not a tumor driving an inflammatory response, it's an inflammatory response causing the lymph nodes to enlarge. And the reason this is really significant is that before we thought that we had to either use chemotherapy to kill the tumor or a cytokine blocker to block the cytokine. Now that we think about it as a primary immune system disorder, we can target the immune system with immunosuppression. So this is a huge breakthrough. So I submitted this paper for publication back in the end of 2013, and unfortunately about 2 weeks after I submitted the paper, literally the paper describing everything we know about the disease, all of my symptoms started coming back. So my enlarged lymph nodes, fatigue, night sweats, and I could not fathom, could not even imagine this disease could be coming back. And unfortunately, it turned out to be another relapse, what I consider overtime number 3. But as we're fighting through what I call overtime number 3, we also now have more of a laser focus than ever on the unanswered questions. We have our model for how we think the disease works, but we still have to uncover what causes it, what are the immune cells that are causing problems, what are the pathways that have gone wrong inside the cells, what are the molecules being released, and what are some diagnostic molecules that we can identify. So we have our sights set on exactly what we need. But as I had this third relapse, so this was 22.5 months ago, and as I sat in the hospital bed again on my bed with less than 7,000 platelets for a week, really prepared at any moment to have a brain bleed and die right there. As I sat in that bed and I thought about the previous 17 months, I thought, I've spent every waking moment working on this disease. This entire community has spent so much time and energy, and it wasn't enough for me, and there's 5,000 other patients diagnosed every year, and it wasn't enough for them. And I said to myself, if I can survive this hospitalization, we've got to make this much bigger than just Castleman disease. It can't be me, my family, and the Castleman disease research community. We need to involve the public, we need to involve businessmen, we need to make this bigger than Castleman. It can't just be about solving Castleman disease. It has to be about building a legacy, building a movement to try to take down rare diseases. And so when I returned to business school back in 2014, I started to enlist the community. How can I get them involved in fighting back? This is a photo from an event that we put on, the boot camp to beat Castleman disease. And then we did it with the Wharton community just down the street. And together, the Wharton community raised $30,000, which then got matched by Penn. And so we raised $60,000 for genomics research that we're distributing right now. I think that deserves a round of applause. But more than just the money that the Wharton community has raised, the Wharton community has also gotten involved in driving forward our research agenda. And I'll give you one research example. There's a study that the researchers at Columbia are doing, really impressive and important work. But they said they needed 25 lymph nodes prepared in one particular fashion, a fashion that's rarely done. And I turned to my team, which is made up of a number of Wharton students, and I said, Dave, we've got a community of 300 doctors. We can find 25 lymph nodes preserved in this one rare way. And so I let them go for it. I let them reach out to a lot of doctors. And amazingly, they found lymph nodes in Oslo, Norway. They found lymph nodes in Arkansas, Penn, Cornell University, 2 universities in Japan, literally all over the world to get these lymph nodes. And we've got all 25 of them. They're actually currently being shipped. We've had about half of them arrive at Columbia University, and we've got half that are on their way. But this is an example where the Wharton community didn't just raise money. They actually got involved in driving our research forward. We're going to make this study happen in half the time it would have taken if we waited for each institution to do it on their own. So I talked a lot about the research we've done, the research we're doing, but I haven't talked much about patient engagement. And I have to show you guys our unofficial logo. So this is a Castleman. And this is our unofficial logo early on. And I showed it for a webinar for a bunch of patients about 2.5 years ago. And the patients unanimously said, that Castleman is way too cute. The Castleman that we thought is like jacked and is ready for war. So we got a new Castleman warrior drawn. So this is our new one. And so I did another webinar with the patients. I said, this is our new Castleman. Does this meet what you guys wanted? And they said that you probably could use a machine gun and like a flamethrower to be the real Castleman. But what was pretty cool was about 2 weeks later, this showed up on our Facebook page. This is the Castleman warrior that one of our patients got tattooed on his shoulder. And I always say, if this is not patient engagement, I really don't know what patient engagement is. But on a much, much more serious note, and something that I take with me every day, I want to show you guys a picture of the forearm on the right of Kim Driscoll. Kim is the mother of Elise. Elise passed away battling Castleman disease 1.5 years ago. That is the forearm of Kim Driscoll, and it is the warrior. Because Kim is fighting this disease. Kim is honoring her daughter. And every single day I think about Elise. And every single day I think, I wish that we started on this mission 3 years ago. Because I wish we could have taken this disease down in time for her. And I also think about all the future releases that we're fighting for. And we have got to get this done because we've got to eliminate this disease before it takes out anyone else too young. What's so amazing about Kim and about Nick is that they're fighting back. They've become warriors. This is a picture of an event that Kim and Nick put on the Roar for Cure in memory of Elise that we got a chance to go to this summer in Boston. I also, of course, want to show some other pictures of our warriors. This is little Katie, our 4-year-old, who's here tonight. She's battling Castleman disease. She's a warrior. Raj is another patient. His family is here tonight. Greg Pacheco is a patient advocate who's done so much for the community. This is a photo from our patient summit from this past year. So as we think about the future, I want to share with you guys about the progress we've made. So I shared about where we were in 2012, and I'm excited to share some updates. So now in 2015, whereas previously there wasn't much collaboration and there's multiple terminology systems, now we've got over 300 physicians and researchers connected in our network. We've held the 3 largest ever meetings for idiopathic pluripotent Castleman disease. We all have a unified terminology system now. We funded 4 studies in the last year and have 5 more studies on our immediate international research agenda that we're actively working to fund. These are studies that if and when we fund will completely change the way we think about this disease and give myself, patients like Katie, and those like Elise a fighting chance to take this disease down. We finally have a diagnostic criteria. As of 5 p.m. today, we have diagnostic criteria. Thanks to all the hard work from Kazu and others who are here. The promising result of the IL-6 therapy resulted in approval. So we got the first ever FDA-approved therapy for one subtype of Castleman disease. Unfortunately, it doesn't. That approval came out about a year ago. Unfortunately, it doesn't treat all patients, and it's not effective for all patients, but it is a huge step for our community, and so amazing that despite being such a rare disease, that Janssen Pharmaceuticals developed a drug just for us. We now also have a new model that I shared with you guys earlier for how we think the disease works that guides our international research agenda. We've connected over 3,000 patients and loved ones, and we're in the midst of finalizing what will be this incredible industry advocacy and academia partnership to establish a global patient registry for Castleman disease. Now, despite our progress, and in addition to our progress, we have a lot of really important work ahead of us. So the first is to figure out what is it that causes the immune system to go crazy? What is the etiology? So we funded 2 studies in the last 6 months. We're waiting to get data back on. We have 2 more studies that are on our short list of priority studies to fund listed up here. We also have studies in place to figure out what's the immune cell. So what is the cause of the immune system disorder? What's the immune cell that's driving it, and what's gone wrong inside those cells? We funded 2 studies in the last 6 months to answer this, and we have 1 more to be done. What's the immune cascade? What are some diagnostic markers that can help us to diagnose this in patients like myself earlier? We've gotten data back on 1 of those studies and have 2 more that are in our short list. And then as far as research infrastructure goes, we are in the final stages of finishing a registry and also a biobank. But as you can see here, we have 5 studies that need funding and that are right at the top of our list. I want to go into specifically about 1 of those studies. We call it our SPEED 2 study. So SPEED 1 was a serum proteomics study. So what we did was we looked at the blood of Castleman's patients when they were sick, and we looked at the blood when they were healthy. And we compared all of the molecules in the blood when they're sick versus when they're healthy. And the idea being that if they're there when they're sick and not there when they're healthy, that might actually be the molecule that's causing this illness. That might be what's driving this illness. We did it on 8 patients, and we got some really, really interesting results. Results that have given us some new directions about immune cells to focus on, pathways to focus on. But of course, 8 patients is a small number. So we're in the final stages of working on a partnership with a pharmaceutical company to get samples on 79 Castleman disease patients. 3 samples, from each of those 79 patients, which will just be a complete, huge breakthrough for the field if we're able to fund and make this study happen. We'll measure 1,129 proteins per sample, cost $1 per protein, so $1,129 per sample. This could be the breakthrough that opens up new diagnostic tests, new therapeutic targets, and really just completely breaks open this disease. So I want to give you guys an overview of kind of where we are from a fundraising perspective. So back in 2012, there was about $20,000 given out a year for idiopathic Castleman disease research, and that kind of tells you where we were in the grand scheme of things. This year, we just gave out $190,000 in research funding, and not just the old model of give it to whoever applies. This is targeted, directed funding based on exactly what needed to be done. But as we look to the next year, this 1 study, our SPEED 2 study, on its own is going to cost $250,000, which on its own is more than all of the funding that we gave out this entire past year. When you combine our 5 studies together, we're looking to raise $450,000 for these 5 studies. So we have a really ambitious goal for this year, but it all starts with the SPEED 2 study. And as I shared, this is our top priority. And what I am excited to share with you guys is, though tonight is the first time I've really shared this publicly about this campaign to do the SPEED 2 study, I've gotten a chance to speak with some patients and their families and a few people who wanted to support it. And we've actually already gotten 60 samples donated. That's $72,000 already. And we haven't even started the campaign yet. The campaign's starting right now. And we've got to secure those other 200 samples, each one costing $1,129. So we've got a big goal ahead of us. I want to close with a few important messages. So the first is to fight through adversity by staying positive. For the gentlemen in the room, I hope no one ever confuses you with being a pregnant woman. But if they do, try to find some humor in it and try to make the most and stay positive. The second is to question the status quo. If we had just accepted the old model for how we thought Castleman disease worked, then I would likely still be on a chemotherapy drug or on a cytokine blocker. But because we questioned the model and because we said, is it a tumor turning on the immune system, or is it the immune system causing the lymph node to grow? Because of that change and that frame shift, we've now started again an immunosuppressant, and I'm now crossed 22.5 months since my last relapse. The longest remission that I've ever been in is about 5 months, and all of a sudden it's given me the ability to think about my future and to think about longer than just 17 months. And that all came about questioning the model and coming up with a whole new way to do things. And the third is to make every second count. You know, I've learned through my experience of having my last rites read to me just how short life is, and how we have such an opportunity here to change the world. And every second we have an opportunity to change the world. And I hope each one of you has found your Castleman disease. Whatever that thing may be that you're running after, your Castleman disease, I hope that each one of you have it. But if you don't have a Castleman disease to run after, or if you want to be a part of the legacy of how we knocked out Castleman disease, and we created a model for curing many more diseases, then we need you. We need you to join our fight. We need you to be a part of our team and to join us and support us. And so tonight, we turn to all of you and invite you to join our movement. Be a part of this team here in Philadelphia that this year and in the next couple of years takes down Castleman disease. But as I said, just as importantly, you create a blueprint to take down many more diseases.